we've always been under somebody else's control. And I want you in this generation to know that for the first time, we are going to take this monkey on our backs down. Thank you for joining me on Esteemed Television, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Augustine Buea. I hope you are surviving very well wherever you are. I hope you are thinking about those who are caught in the rut in Ambazonia. I hope you're thinking about those who are living on the edges in La République du Cameroon, and those who are suffering in Nigeria under very difficult and getting difficult circumstances, and getting even more difficult. I am surviving where I am, but what I want you to know is that this is what the people of Ambazonia have been going through in the last over 100 years. Over 100 years, in different degrees. There were times when it was more intense. There were times when it was less intense, and we have a little bit of normalcy. But we've always been under somebody else's control. And I want you in this generation to know that for the first time, we are going to take this monkey on our backs down. And I think so far we're doing really well. We're doing really well. I think those who came in armed to the teeth were talking, but they wanted to come and not talk because they don't value us. They don't think we're worth listening to in our land. And I think we accepted the fight, and it's a good thing that we accepted it, because at some point, you have to show that you are more than talk. And I think our people have done that very well. But I want us, in this darkness, in the darkness of over 100 years, I want us to know that this time we are going to be out of that darkness. We are either going to all die or live like humans do, because in the final analysis, we are humans, and no other human has the right to come and either undermine our own humanity or try to take away by force or by any other means other than through our permission what belongs to us. They're looking for all means to either kill us in our land or drive us in our land because they want our land. They don't think we deserve the land. They think that God made a mistake in putting us in that land. But it is up to us to prove that God did not make a mistake in creating us humans and in putting us in that piece of land. And while we've been fighting, it looks like the rest of the world has forgotten us. And what I really wanted to communicate with you in this particular broadcast is that we are not forgotten. There are actually people listening to us. And I found an article written by one, and I looked at this article and I said, what parts can I pick and discuss with you? And I did not see any part that should be left out. And so what I'm going to do is, and I'm doing this for the first time, I'm going to read this as it appears. And it's actually titled appropriately. It's called Cameroon's Forgotten Civil War is Getting Worse. Yes, Cameroon's Forgotten Civil War is getting worse. For us, the Ambazonian War of Liberation is ongoing. This article is published in Foreign Policy, written by Mr. Maxwell Boone. I'm just going to read it to you the way it is, because I think it was written by somebody who seems to have a very good understanding of what's going on. And I looked at it and I decided what parts of it to discuss with you, and I just decided that, you know what, I will just read this to you. It's not that long. This article was published today, December 2nd, 2021. On November 12, riots broke out in the city of Bamenda, the capital of Cameroon's northwest region, in response to the killing of 8-year-old Brandy Tato by a stray bullet after a police officer fired a live round at a car that had supposedly not obeyed orders at a checkpoint. So when you hear about stray bullets, yeah, that's the law. And when people get killed, nobody is held responsible for it. These days, you're even lucky if you can have your dead to bury, because a lot of the kids, they just kill them en masse. They did so many mass graves and so many large murdered groups of people. You see, they pile them up. I don't know how. I was going to say I don't know how La République disposes of them, but the mass graves that would be discovered in Ambazonia after everything is said and done would be incredible. Would be unbelievable. So he talked about orders not obeyed at checkpoints. You know, when you talk about orders not obeyed at the checkpoint, it almost sounds like the Ambazonian civilians were obeying, were disobeying orders from an officer. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. These are people living under a military occupation in an illegal war where nobody is monitoring what some very poor soldiers are doing on the street. These are very poor soldiers who are, I think I've described it in the past, that they are soldiers of a colony, which means that this is the land that is being controlled by the French. But the French are not directly involved. So they take poor citizens from their colony who they have impoverished and then have them to come into Ambazonia as police, as military, as whatever they want, carrying guns. And they come broke. And so what you see is them breaking into stores, stealing. They steal people's cars.
You know this young jelly from us. Not just the machine for no man the no. And therefore, no, I feel like I can see the under second. You think around that machine for under the way the phone did it, ever knows it is in see it go from motor to motor. They go from one motor to another. How did you open the motor? Sorry, they can't put it in Mama, this is theft. This is really theft. First class thing. When you see my boss, my house was social media. Now, I think I will make a day.
they rape women, they break into banks. And one of the steady source of income for them is to stop motorists on the street and collect fines and collect money from them. I was going to say fines. It's not fines, because a legal fine is when you actually commit a crime or an offense, and then you go to a court of law and you're proven wrong, or there was actually something say don't do this because you get this ticket and go pay there. No, that's not a thing. They stop you on the street and they ask you straight, give me 500 francs or whatever they ask. I know the standard amount is 500, and then you can go. And if you refuse or if you don't have it, a lot of citizens have ended up being shot. And I want to give a little more background about these extortions that take place high noon on the street. The military hierarchy understands that. So some of these soldiers who are killing to get this money are not killing because they really want the money that bad. No, they do have a quarter. They collect this money. They give some to their direct commanding officers. The direct commanding officers give some until it goes all the way up to the governor. Maybe to La Republica, to Buea, who knows? But what we do know is that these are foot soldiers who are taxed to collect this money from the civilians in a very, very poor country where they are poorly paid, and pass it on all the way up. And if you don't collect, they put you on the they put you in the office. You don't go out anymore, so you don't collect bribes. So you live on your meager salary that they pay you, and that cannot keep a family in the place. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that so some of these citizens have decided that it is better for them that they have a chance running away, disobeying this law, than come and stand there and be shot. So I just wanted to clarify that when you hear that they did not obey a checkpoint, no, the extortion points, because there's nothing to check. After the killing, residents took to the street with tree branches, a traditional symbol for peace, and expressed their outrage. The protest soon turned violent, with buildings burned and the military firing into the crowd. The scenes in Bamenda nearly mirrored those in Buea, the capital of the Southwest region, a month prior, when 5-year-old Carol Louise Ndiali was killed by security forces under similar circumstances, and furious bystanders beat to death the officer who fired the fatal shot.
But it is a coward who leaves the adult in battle to shoot at infants. It is the loser and the invader who kills innocent children coming back from school.
Weeks later, on November 24th, unidentified gunmen attacked a school in Ekondo Titi in the Southwest region, killing 3 students and a teacher. The government blamed secessionists, who in turn blamed other groups within the splinter Anglophone movement and the Cameroonian government. The Anglophone crisis in Cameroon has escalated in recent months at the hands of all parties to the conflict. When Mr. Boone talks about escalation from all parties, I don't know what he's talking about. Because when you sit and they come and attack you and continue attacking you, you have no choice but to fight back. If we are not being attacked, there will be no escalation. So there's only one side that escalates. One side. And people like to add the separatists as that's a wrong equivalence, and we'll never accept it. The crisis began in 2016 as peaceful protest by lawyers and teachers demanding linguistic reforms, but rapidly escalated into a war of secession that has killed thousands of people and displaced over 1 million. Now, Mr. Boone talked about a linguistic problem. No, it's not a linguistic problem. It is true that the government of La République du Cameroon is sending Francophone magistrates into our courts, but they're also magistrates that do not understand the common law. We do not practice civil law in Ambazonia. La République du Cameroon practice civil law, which is a command law. It's a law that comes from above. Ambazonians practice common law, just like the civilized countries of the world do practice. And so what La République du Cameroon has done in their very enthusiastic assimilation program that has been running since 1961, and you know that you cannot assimilate a people unless you destroy everything they have. To assimilate them, you must destroy their own culture, to assimilate them into your culture. Destroy their language, to assimilate them into your own language. Destroy their education, to assimilate them into your own education. Destroy their economy, to assimilate. You must destroy everything of theirs so they become dependent on you. And then you start giving them what you... I mean, that is old-time colonization. That is old. That is like the Germans came I'm going to use this word, which is not, into a virgin, uncolonized Ambazonia and start trying to teach them their foreign language. That's what you're trying to do to a population in the 21st century that speaks English, which is the #1 language in the world. It's the #1. I didn't make it that. It's just what it is. If you go to Ambazonian schools, you see that all the Francophones have been sending their children, and they've crowded all our schools. In fact, Ambazonian children don't even have an ability to go to secondary school like we used to go, because it's being now packed with Francophone students who want to learn English. The English that their government is trying to destroy. The English that the French ordered their government to destroy. So it's not just a linguistic thing. No, it's also it's a thing of law, because they want to change the whole makeup of our country and take it back into their very dark colonial empire. That's what the lawyers were fighting. What the teachers were fighting is, yes, sending Francophone teachers to come and teach English-speaking children. Of course, they're not even. It's not linguistic. You're destroying the children. They bring a Francophone curriculum. I don't know what the French who came and assimilated them. I don't know what kind of education they gave them, but that's the education they want to bring into Ambazonia, and our teachers and the people of Ambazonia say no. Before you came, we have one of the best educational systems in the world, in the #1 language in the world. It is an education where new inventions get published, and it takes decades, sometimes decades. I was going to say years, but sometimes decades before it gets into the French language and other languages. So why do you want to take us that far behind? So we'll not accept. That's what the Ambazonians were fighting. That's why they were protesting on the street, holding their peace leaves. You heard Mr. Maxwell Boone say that the peace leaf is a traditional peace symbol. We are speaking with our mouth and we're saying we're doing it in peace, and we get shot. And then when you try to fight back, you said, oh, it's escalation from both sides. Now, I want to talk about this school ban thing. I think Mr. Maxwell Boone addressed it. You see, the school boycott thing started when the teachers went on strike, and then the students left school in order to support their teachers. That's what happened. Now, if we are saying that these students are having bad schools, they're not being taught well, they're being taught by foreigners in foreign languages that the students don't understand, what kind of education are they getting there? That's what is being protested. And then everybody now is concentrated about the children going back to school. To what schools? To learn what? If you look at the quality of students they've been putting out, it's It's dismal to what I was going to say to what we came out of from school, and it is true. So the educational standard has been dropping, and the students come out, they can't speak French very well, they can't speak English very well. Because they go to be confused. So when the whole world is emphasizing 700,000 students that are not going back to school, please, if you are concerned, help stop this mayhem going on. Help stop the nightmare in Ambazonia. Okay? And you do have the power to stop it. You do. You do have the power to stop it. Because Paul Biya is in power today because the West and the Western interests want him to be in power. If they wanted him out, he'll be out. France has actually said they've been protecting Paul Biya. Le Monde wrote that. I'm not the one saying it. So let's stay away from all the pretenses. Okay, let's stay away from all the pretenses and address the issues that the people of Ambazonia are fighting against. This is not a fight that just started. Since joining La République in 1961, we have been arguing that things are not right. And we have been patient until we couldn't be patient anymore when they came shooting at us. But this is a fight now which, if all the issues are not resolved, then what is life? And part of the reason why La République does not want to go to a conference table is because they know they will lose, because they have no case. The British bungled the trustee that was given to them to lead the people of Ambazonia to independence. They did not. The UN joined the British in committing that crime against the people of Ambazonia. And so the French and its colony looked at Ambazonia like a child who is owned by no person, by nobody, like an orphan, like an abused child.
He proceeded it and declared unification of the Federal Republic of Cameroon.
Why did you have to go along with it?
Well, I had no choice. Now, I had no backing. I was almost alone.
And they decided to continue the abuse. That's why we find ourselves where we are today. And so, coming to talk about our children not being educated, do you know how many Ambazonians are educated and they're not benefiting from their education? Because all the jobs in Ambazonia are given to a poor colony that the French left bankrupt. The governor of the so-called Northwest region is a Francophone. All the DOs are Francophone. All the magistrates are Francophones. You go in, and then all the teachers, Francophones. They want to replace all of them. They think they were not moving fast enough. Then they started moving fast enough. And I think that's where they did a few steps too fast. That's why they were caught. You go into our hotels, because some of the big hotels are owned by government. They're all Francophones. Because only Francophones are being employed and given loans and all of that. In fact, I think they've given them special amounts of money to come and invest in Ambazonia because they really need to. And this started in 1990 when Fundi actually challenged that system. So they made the push to take over the place so no such challenges coming again from the dogs. Okay? So all the big businesses not owned by Ambazonians, all the lands not owned by Ambazonians, because Ambazonians, without any employment, you're forced to sell what you have. And so if you go to the southwest region of Cameroon, the so-called southwest region of Cameroon, all the lands bought by Francophones. I hear the governor there has more than 20 plots that they bought. And if any of the local chiefs does not want to support, they depose him and appoint a different one, and he signs the papers. I mean, if people know what hell we're living with, they will not be addressing these issues as though they're addressing them in a normal society. No, we're not living in a normal society. We're living in hell. And by the time the peaceful people of Ambazonia starts fighting back, no, they couldn't take it anymore. To many in the Cameroon Anglophone region, the recent killings are not new, but instead a continuation of the heavy-handed techniques, corruption, and impunity demonstrated by the security forces. The gun in Ambazonia, not only in the street, the gun in all of Ambazonia for over 100 years has been what has been used. Ambazonians have never been spoken to. The Germans came in, shot their way in, they left. The British who shot out the Germans took it over and brought in Nigerians who were also subjects of a colony to come into Ambazonia, and the exploitation continued. So Ambazonia, in between La République du Cameroon and Nigeria, has been a place that has seen nothing but exploitation, both from the colonialists and from the subjects of the colonialists who send them into Ambazonia, and Ambazonia looks like a hunting ground. Nobody cares for anybody who is there. They just go there, don't develop the roads, don't develop any infrastructure, don't. If you travel between La République du Cameroon and Nigeria, you find that these two have a relative development that has taken place. In Ambazonia has no development. The roads, as I'm speaking like that, I'm thinking about the Ndu dance where they're begging for roads.
Our greatest problem in Northwest now is the ring road. Our greatest problem in Northwest is the ring road. Oh, our greatest problem now in Northwest is the ring road. Our greatest problem in Northwest is the ring road. From Kumu to Kame is horrible. From Kumu to Kame, Doga is terrible. Oh, we are surprised whether we are part of this country. Very surprised whether we are part of this country. Just come to Northwest region and see the ring road yourself. Northwest region and see the ring road. Therefore, what time are we committed to Cameroon government? Are we committed to Cameroon government? Oh, Junior, one day sun will shine.
And so these people live like they're still living in the 18th, 19th century. But what is very visible is the exploitation that's going on and the hand of the enemy. Now, La République du Cameroon, its citizens don't have anything to exploit in the land other than come and steal from the Ambazonians and rape their women and get their servants from there to go and be their servants in their own land. They have nothing else. They don't have industry that needs minerals. They don't have industry that needs oil. And so while they keep this place underdeveloped, the timber is going, the oil is going, the minerals are going, the cash crop that they force on the people because that's the only way they can get their own money. Unemployment in Ambazonia is rampant. Okay, so that's the life in Ambazonia, and that's what these people are fighting against. In the aftermath of the killings, multiple factions of the divided separatist movement announced retaliatory measures, ranging from restarting a ban on all schooling, a controversial policy that they claim is to keep children safe, but is seen by many on the ground to be a means of maintaining leverage and exerting control over the population, to calls to attack all members of the military. These are far from the only recent escalations in the conflict. On November 10th, an explosive device was detonated inside a lecture hall at the University of Buea and injured 11 students. Just days before, a taxi driver was killed when his car exploded in the same city. The explosions followed widespread shock after passengers were forced out of a bus and tortured by separatist fighters, purportedly for not obeying orders to enact a ghost town. The idea of a ghost town, similar to a general strike, albeit enforced, was originally a means for the civilian population to demonstrate their support for the striking lawyers and teachers. But it has come to be seen on the ground as an oppressive tool used by the Anglophone diaspora to demonstrate their control. While calls to create ghost towns have not been strictly followed in recent months, the explosions and attacks have caused a new sense of fear among the population. These actions reflect a hardening of positions by all parties to the conflict, underscoring that it will continue unless the two sides shift their focus from zero-sum approaches, denials of the conflict's severity, and infighting. However, actions by both parties indicate that the opposite is occurring. So, there's a term here that Mr. Max Boone used. He said hardening of positions. And I was thinking, what position does Ambazonians have to harden? So I did not understand what he meant. I can understand La République saying we are going to shoot ourselves to victory because we have no case to make. So we just have to win by the gun. I can understand that. But when you say Ambazonians are hardening their position, what position? The position where they murder children on our streets every day, where they rape females everywhere, where they burn our villages, they invade our hospitals, they shoot people in churches. What position is there for Ambazonians to be hardened about? These are people defending themselves, eating grass, because when you burn villages and the people still live there, what do? They feed with the animals. So what is there to be hardening about? They want to get out of the situation. And anybody who wants to come and help us get out of it they'll be welcomed. They'll be welcomed. But there's no position to harden, Mr. Maxwell. Since the beginning of the conflict, the Cameroonian government has been in denial, hiding the burning of villages and attempting to blame the separatists for atrocities that it later took responsibility for. The government has attempted to unilaterally propose solutions that do not address the conflict's root causes. It held a national dialogue in 2019 that was boycotted by separatists, which led to the implementation of decade-old changes to the Cameroonian constitution through regional elections held in December of 2020. The opposition and many civil society groups boycotted these elections, while the government continued to commit the very abuses that led to the conflict in the first place. The government has continued this denial and taken its heavy-handed approach to the conflict even further. In October, Cameroon's foreign minister summoned the diplomatic corps in Yaoundé, the capital, and said the government had undertaken expensive and extensive structural administrative reforms to address the conflict, saying they demonstrated the government's commitment to ending it. In reality, the government allowed nascent peace talks with imprisoned separatist leaders to fall victim to political infighting, and has continued to state that symbolic actions that do not include separatists are a sufficient means of addressing Anglophone grievances. Doing so continues to show its unwillingness to accept responsibility for allowing the crisis to escalate, its continued human rights abuses, and the refusal to engage in meaningful talks. The present government, this regime, because since La République had so-called independence, since the French installed this regime, this is the regime that they armed and fought with to cause genocides in La République du Cameroon. They burned villages, they destroyed food crops, they cut the breasts of women, open wide the stomach of pregnant women. This is, I'm repeating what one of the French pilots that flew a helicopter then reported. The clip is on the internet if you want it. Okay? So they did all of this and got away with. They were rewarded by giving La République du Cameroon, and then doubly rewarded by giving Ambazonia to them. And so, Ambazonians who have never gone through that, who came from a way more civilized colonization, I can now definitely say that. A civilization where they actually had an autonomy on a lot of their own lives. To come into a place, into a different type where people were treated like animals. It took us a while to find a way to respond to this. But this government brought it to us, and they're repeating the same thing, except our citizens now have Android phones. They take them and they send the pictures. Remember that La République du Cameroon shut down the internet when that started happening for 90 days. It is when the world said it will stop, and then they stopped. And so if the world wants this war to stop, it will stop. Instead of funding La République, and instead of deferring and telling La République to do X, Y, Z, those are all criminals. Paul Biya was never elected by the people of La République du Cameroon to become their president. He was put there by the French. Ahidjo was never elected, and Paul Biya followed after Ahidjo. The first rule for 20-something years, this one has been ruling for close to 40. And I mean, divide the 60 years between the two of them, and you have two people under a government that was never elected. So the world knows how to solve this. And don't forget that this is a government that housed all the genocidaires. All those who caused genocide in Rwanda, they all escaped into La République du Cameroon. It was by force, under threat, that the government of La République du Cameroon recently allowed them to be arrested. So that's who our government is. That's who Ambazonia was given to. And they have kept it for 60 years. Can you imagine what conditions we've lived in, and can you imagine our state of existence right now? Recently, the government has taken its disproportionate and heavy-handed approach beyond its own borders, particularly into Nigeria. Nigeria hosts more than 60,000 refugees from the conflict, but has also served as a source of materials, including armaments and medical treatment for separatist fighters who take advantage of the porous borders between the two countries. While Nigeria facilitates the arrest and extradition of separatist leaders to Cameroon in 2018, an act that was later declared illegal by local courts, Anglophone Cameroonians had largely been able to live in the country with minimal interference from authorities. This situation has changed rapidly in recent months. Anglophone Cameroonians have been facing unprecedented levels of harassment and intimidation at the hands of Nigerian authorities, including extrajudicial deportations to Cameroon, often resulting in being imprisoned and tortured once being handed over. This often takes the form of joint operations against those accused of supporting separatists, but regularly led to civilians being harassed, picked up, tortured, and deported. In other cases, the Cameroonian military has crossed into Nigeria in search of separatist fighters, leading to complaints from Nigerian villagers about harassment and intimidation by the foreign forces. When Cameroonian forces crossed into Nigeria earlier in the conflict, it led to a diplomatic standoff between Yaoundé and Abuja. Now it seems to be done in coordination between the two. Some observers speculate this is the result of a visit by Cameroonian officials to Abuja in July, after which the Nigerian government stated it would ensure that its country was not a safe haven for separatists in Cameroon. Some speculate that this is the result of a partnership announced in April between one of the major Cameroonian secessionist groups, the Ambazonian Governing Council, and the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a secessionist group in Nigeria. The Cameroonian government has taken advantage of the secessionist issue in an effort to convince Nigerian officials that both governments face the same threat. Cameroonian leaders frequently mention shared security challenges along the country's southern borders and even congratulated the Nigerian government on its arrest of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu this year. La République troops have been going into Nigeria. At one point there was a standoff. And if Nigeria thinks that La République has stopped doing it, because what Nigeria, I think it's he who also reported that, if it's not him, it's another person, because I don't remember if he reported that. But with a lot of the explosives and the abilities of the Ambazonian fighters right now, what is going on is that La République is really worried about winning this war, because the Ambazonian people are not Bamileke people, the Ambazonian people are not the Bassa people. 2021 it's not 1957, it's not 1958, it's not even 1967. So Ambazonians are fighting, and La République is nervous. And if they are nervous, they should I was going to say they should raise a white flag and stop killing our people, because whether they kill our people or not, we are going to be free and we will fight to death. We will fight to death. So La République troops now go into Nigeria, trying to antagonize Nigeria. Nigeria is already a cooperating partner, okay? We're not looking forward to this present Nigerian government, because I think they're already doing a lot of illegalities and really undermining a great Nigeria, making it become a banana republic to the French, a banana republic to La République du Cameroon. I don't know how much they come and bribe them, because it doesn't make sense. The Nigerian courts looked at it and said this is illegal. So what the Nigerian government is doing is illegal. They are cooperating in places where they should not be cooperating. And it's still not succeeding. So La République is making incursions, looking for ways to say it's the Ambazonian fighters that are going there. No, the Ambazonian fighters has absolutely no incentive to go and antagonize Nigeria. Absolutely none. Because after everything is said and done, Nigeria is a neighboring country to Ambazonia. After the colonial period, Nigeria went back peacefully and behind the borders. Nigerian and Ambazonian borders have been cleaned. The only interruption has been La République trying to prevent Ambazonians from doing good business with Nigerians, because they want us to do business with their empire. They want to be in control of us so that they don't want us to get any independent money. So immediately after the UN and the British gave us to them, they closed the borders. We have no enmity with Nigeria. Nigeria is hosting a lot of our refugees whose villages were burned, and all of them poured into Nigeria. So why would we go attacking Nigeria? Now this brings me to the situation with this group called AGOF-C. The AGOF-C is a bunch of losers who don't know what they're doing, and they are not fighting the Ambazonian war. I actually think they're a bunch of criminals, because you've never seen them fight. You have seen them collect money because Ambazonians in the diaspora want to contribute to help their families in Ambazonia. Okay? What La République did was to come and arrest the leaders of Ambazonia, and it became an open field. And so criminal elements came in there, and that is what is going on. And some of them, I don't know why otherwise, why would somebody in his right mind, where we are fighting invaders, and you want to go and start fighting an independent country? Nigeria is an independent country. When you go in there and say you're making an alliance with any group in there, you are invading an independent country. You are violating an independent country. That's not what Ambazonians are for. That's not the legitimate fight that Ambazonians are trying to fight. Okay? And having said that, I would say that any Ambazonian group that is fighting our colonization and somehow associate themselves to AGOF-C is associating themselves to the illegal and criminal agreements that they have signed with IPOD. I don't know if they signed them or they were just running their mouth, because they run their mouths about everything. These are people who go around saying they will kill chiefs and put their heads on sticks and put by the side of the road in Ambazonia. They were just caught recently on a kidnap for ransom. These are not people that any Ambazonian legitimate fighting group should be associated with. And I hope that we will distance ourselves from their actions and from them as a people, and let them take their criminality not only across the border but wherever they want, because they don't belong in our fight. They don't belong in our fight. Not in their words and not in their actions. You know, some people have said AGOF-C actually fights for La République du Cameroon. They have showed a lot of signs that they work with La République du Cameroon. When I first heard that they signed, when they first announced, they announced it. Amazingly, if you are a legitimate fighting group, and even if you were going to do something like that, you do it covertly. So what they were trying to gain is something more. What do you gain by going to the world and say, we have formed an alliance with IPOD in Nigeria? What do you gain? What do you gain? The enmity of Nigeria? How does that benefit you? So the whole thing is very baffling. It's baffling. Ambazonians will have to show their rejection of these actions by not associating with them. Ambazonians in the diaspora have to stop contributing to them. Because you contribute your money, they take the money, they don't help Ambazonia, they go and create more enemies for Ambazonia. Ambazonia already have the French and La République du Cameroon. Now they are including Nigeria as part of the enemy. Why? And that enemy not only to Ambazonia as a country, but also to the 60+ thousands that are refugees over there. They're being harassed right now. Mr. Boone was explaining that. But Ambazonians have to make a statement about this. Otherwise, it could be interpreted as accepting what they did, and therefore we become accomplices. I distance myself so far away from those fools. I don't want to get any closer. But Ambazonians just know that, just like Mr. Boone is reporting, they know what is going on. We are fighting as hard as we can. Everybody in the world knows. I was listening to reports from the European Parliament. I heard some sympathetic voices there, but the French came and they were supporting a colonial government, a monster, an undemocratic government where one person has been president for, I think he's the longest serving president in the world. A civilized Western country is supporting it. It's a country where they are just going to shoot at children. They burn villages with old women, handicapped, everybody in there. There were a lot of sympathetic voices, but I was so disappointed when the president of the European Parliament came and sided with the French and La République du Cameroun. I don't know what they paid her, but I just hope that no other country in the world ever find themselves in the situation where Ambazonians find themselves in.